It's based on a late work by John le Carre titled The Pigeon Tunnel. And it is maybe, I was going to say one of my favorite le Carre books, but maybe it is my favorite le Carre books. I actually love it. And it's pure delight to be able to turn it into a movie.
Our dad was a huge fan of Fog of War, yes, and I mean, always, he was always giving us required watching and required reading, and I think this was something that he both, admired and to a certain extent hoped that one day he would be able to emulate in terms of the sort of the intensity of it.
Yeah, and I think he was conscious of having a great conversation late in life. He was conscious of time passing. I don't think necessarily of his mortality, but of his legacy. And I think he both sort of consciously and unconsciously really identified Errol as someone that he could entrust that conversation and that narrative and that life to.
He was very, very selective. Yes, I mean, I think by and large, when he wrote a book, he did an interview, but he wrote 30 books, so there are quite a few interviews out there.
Yeah, I would say he was not reclusive with people, right? That he was a very connected person, not overly social, but very with people. He really loved people and interacting with people.
And he loved to entertain too, and I think you see some of that in the film. I hope you see some of that in the film.
But I think he was selective in his conversations with in a media sense, and in he wanted to really connect through that process with readership and the world in an interesting way.
David Cornwell was a documentarian. Every single book involved scrupulous research. He would go to the places that he was writing about. He would meet the people. He would become involved in various shapes and forms with the people he was writing about. It wasn't a kind of hands-off writing exercise. It was something very different. And if he applied that technique to me, I'm quite flattered. It's a lovely thing.
I think this is it's for both of them, but also for Errol, a very, very personal, very beautiful journey. And I think it's, it's a conversation about truth and history in really interesting ways. And I think that resonates through the film.
Part of what he talks about in the film is this blurred line between himself and his father, which is always there in one form or another. I really like this one moment in the film where he talks about George Smiley, his principal character, as being the father he never had. But Smiley was also an alter ego for Jean le Carre himself. And I think you run into difficulty when you try to sort of pin the butterfly to the board. He had a number of alter egos, and that's part of what makes the film, and I dare say it, what makes his work fascinating. I've often had the feeling that I wish he could see part of what we shot. I wish he could see this movie. Would he like it? I think he would like it. Self-serving of me to say so, but yes, I think about him often. I like the guy. I enjoy talking to him. It's one of the great pleasures of my life. I'm working on a drama, a feature based on a character, a mass murderer that I interviewed many, many years ago. Ed Gein. And I have another movie which we've shot and we've been editing about the separations on the border by the Trump administration. And I think I have several other things too. So you're right. I'm not able to sort of contain myself